Rolling Stone published an 8-part video interview and a special BTS printed edition. This is not a recap, it's more of a reading between the lines. These are the details that stayed with me, not the obvious headlines, but the small shifts in how they speak, what they emphasize, and what they are willing to leave unsaid. Some of these are very straightforward and others take a second to land. So think of this as a series of observation that surfaced once you stop taking the answers at face value. And this is just the starting point. I will be breaking this down further, one member at a time. The consensus. There is no single consensus on who BTS is anymore, but they all agree on two core things. They are Koreans, and they share this wild journey towards global dominance together. And one of the most important realizations they seem to have reached with this album is that this actually represents BTS in 2026, not BTS as a whole for all time. This album doesn't need to be their magnum opus. It doesn't need to define everything that they are. It just needs to be the most honest version of what they can create right now. And I think that's huge. For the last 12 to 13 years, there's been this constant pressure from fans and haters and the industry alike to define their legacy, to pin down exactly what makes them BTS, what makes them unique, and why they succeeded the way that they did. But the best part is that they've finally come to terms with the fact that life is in motion. It's supposed to keep moving and progressing. And I think as fans, that should be one of the most comforting things that we can hope for. They still have a long way to go, both as a group and as individuals. If they try to force every release to be the defining moment of BTS, they'll only end up limiting their own growth. Accepting that this is not everything BTS is, but simply BTS in 2026, seems to have given them the room to exhale. They're loosening up, knowing they're constantly evolving. The competition, the polite answer, and the real one. Brian asked them about the competition, clearly expecting the track 2.0 to be aimed at their rivals, and J Hope answered very graciously at first, saying BTS's only real competition is themselves. And you could tell that Brian felt something more had to be said. So he rephrased the question a little later on, like a good journalist does. And that's when RM actually opened up a little bit more. He said that they thought about the haters, the people sitting at home with a bottle of water, literally praying for BTS to break up and self destruct and fall apart. And he put it so politely without naming anyone. But the message was very clear. We've been gone for 4 years. You had your fun. Now it's our turn. And I really respect how RM actually delivered it. It showed they're fully aware of the intense, often unreasonable hate directed at them. People out there are dedicating their lives to trying to pull BTS down. And it is important for fans and for everyone else to know that BTS sees it and they're not blind to it. Sure, they are kind, polite, and gentlemen, but they are not pushovers. The shared fear. It was a little surprising and really interesting to hear that J Hope shares a similar deep worry with RM. The fear that one day they might wake up and realize music no longer makes them happy, that they don't want to do it anymore. And I did not expect that from J Hope as much as from RM, the classic overthinker of the group, but it makes sense culturally. As Asians, we're programmed to work. From childhood, we focus on one path and rarely look at the alternatives. In a communal society like ours, decisions always consider how they'll affect others. And J Hope mentioned exactly that. He thinks about the impact his choices have on other people around him. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's a give and take thing. Others are also making decisions thinking about how it's going to affect us. But music carries extra weight for them because it's not the safe path most Asian parents expect. It's usually doctors and lawyers and engineers. So for them, choosing music in the first place was already a deviation from expectation. It wasn't the safe route. Their parents supported them, though. And now the fear of possibly waking up one day and not wanting it anymore feels heavier. This is their decision. There is no one else to blame. The myth of perfection slowly being dismantled. Thanks to the love of ARMY and the hate of the antis, people tend to see BTS in extremes, either a perfect synchronized group that never disagrees or an overhyped manufactured boy group. But in this Rolling Stone interview and others during this promo, they've been peeling back that image of perfection. They've shown they're just like any other great group, maybe even like any great creative endeavor. Nothing truly great is created without pain and struggle. And they openly talked about the disagreements when choosing songs. A great example was Buddy to Buddy. With the Arirang sample, surprisingly, two of the songwriting pillars of BTS, RM and Suga, were the ones who didn't like it at first. It actually took them time to come around and realize it was actually the right move, both sonically and thematically. They're showing the messy, difficult human side of their journey to greatness. No beautiful thing is ever created without pain. They go through a lot of work, arguments, and decision making just to agree on one direction. And in doing so, they never looked more human and never greater. The break was actually good. Personally, I never like forcing anyone into something they don't choose voluntarily. That's why I've never really fully been comfortable with a mandatory enlistment. But I do believe that the break itself was necessary for BTS, not necessarily the military service, but the time away from the group and from music. That period, however you count it, 2 to 4 years, gave them space to step back, look at the music from the outside, and honestly ask themselves if they still wanted it. You can see how healthy it was. It allowed them to pursue solo careers, which helped them grow individually and ultimately strengthen BTS. Jungkook was clearly eager to return, which is probably why he didn't take on heavy military activities. He saw it as temporary. He wanted to sing. And Jimin gained confidence in his writing. Suga said he answered the call because he had no choice, but his goal has always been to come back as a group member. Overall, the group break gave them a clear perspective on what BTS means to each of them. The result is a group that feels more deliberate about being BTS again, not just continuing out of momentum. Difference as the foundation, not the problem. This ties into their imperfection and disagreements. What stands out is how genuinely different they are as people. Their processes, how they see the world, how they look at themselves. Jin, for example, had no issues with Butter and Dynamite or Permission to Dance. He felt they had fun and achieved a lot, and that was enough for him. Contrast that to RM, who got confused about their identity during that massive success of the songs. Or Suga, who really simply wants to create beautiful music. And there is Jungkook, who focuses on enjoying the process. If he has fun making it, he feels fulfilled. Jimin wants to keep on pushing the group forward no matter what. This is his top priority. The differences could easily tear a group apart. But instead, they complement each other beautifully. The overthinking RM, the process enjoyer Jungkook, the dedicated craftsman Suga, the group pusher Jimin, and others all bring something unique, like perfect pieces of a grand puzzle. This is an exploration, not a conclusion. They changed their creative process a lot for this album. Things like doing a song camp, which they've never done before, and having P Dog heavily involved from the initial session all the way to mastering. More than anything, this album feels like an exploration rather than a final statement. In the past, BTS often started with a clear concept, a defined message that everything else built around. This time, it was the opposite. They started by asking themselves, what makes BTS BTS right now? And the songs became the process of answering that question, not a pre planned message. They didn't start with a clear concept like chapter 1. Instead, they discover the keywords and themes while creating. That's why it feels like a documentation of an ongoing journey, legacy in motion. It's not the conclusion of their identity, it's them figuring it out real time. Fans and industry felt it was rap heavy. A lot of people, including fans and the industry, pointed out that the album is objectively rap heavy, and I think they are correct. But Jungkook said he feels there's balance. And I don't think that he meant equal line distribution, the way many K-pop fans actually want to measure it. He was probably looking at the overall impact of the song. Even with fewer lines, the vocal lines parts, like the falsetto, high note ad libs, hit so hard that they become the viral moments. It shows a mature perspective, valuing the song's impact over counting who gets more airtime. From the collaborator's point of view, the article included comments from producers like Will Made It and Diplo, and it was satisfying to hear how impressed they were with each member's work ethic and creative process. Suga, they said, would listen to a beat silently, leave, and then come back with a guitar, strumming the songs, obviously trying to understand the songs on a fundamental level. That thoughtfulness is why his music has so much depth. Jungkook, on the other hand, is naturally talented that he can walk in and nail everything almost instinctively, like a singing genius. Jimin stays quiet during sessions, but after everyone else speaks, he synthesizes all the ideas into something perfect. And they also described BTS's team as an incredibly well oiled machine, advanced, state of the art, out of this world. They described how, while they were writing the songs, the dance line was already figuring out the choreography, which allowed the producer to actually adjust to the way that their body would actually move. Another room was brainstorming performance concepts even before the song was finished. It shows the global level support a global group like BTS needs and deserves. They are in the moment more than chasing identity. J Hope said something simple but also profound, that it is nothing short of impressive that all of them actually came back together to the group to continue making great music together. And I understand, after all their solo successes, they don't really need each other anymore. And quite frankly, they've done enough. And yet, they choose the group. Suga put it beautifully. They should just enjoy themselves. Being back with their closest friends, making music together, that should be the priority. In chapter one, their own big goals and pressures kept them from fully appreciating the moment. Now they seem to understand that enjoying the present, being together, and appreciating this chapter is more important than chasing destiny. I hope they really do that. And as Army, we should take the cue from them. Support them, of course, stream, requests, etc. But most of all, enjoy their music with them because that is what music is made for. Ah, another series. But I really am very thankful that many of these reporters, many of these journalists are really starting to research about BTS. And it benefits us. I mean, they're really asking good questions that sort of gives us a better understanding on where they are creatively, like their creative journey. Of course, I don't think we will fully understand it. Only the seven of them can. But it it allows us to understand as much as a fan could, right? And I think it's very inspiring. I learn a lot from them. So I hope that in the succeeding interviews, no one will be perfect. No question, no journalist will ever satisfy an army, right? Because we will always have questions. There's so much curiosity about their creative journey and all the stuff. So, but at least the interviews now are better. So I hope it continues. That the future interviews will also provide better insights. Okay, I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comment section below. As always, you can say whatever it is that you want to say. Just please do so respectfully. And as you know, I am writing a book about BTS, about their impact. And this is not just like any other book. I want this to be a real documentation of the impact that they have made, changes that they have affected, supported by evidence and data. And of course, I will be interviewing industry leaders and experts. And I hope to do a documentary out of it as well, like a formal documentary. I think one of the disadvantages that BTS has from this perspective is that they're not an English speaking group. So it's so easy for the Western side of the world to sort of forget about them. But I think 10, 20 years from now, many of the things that they have started will be adapted. Like it will be common to to it will be commonly used. And I definitely want to make sure that they get credited for that. So that is why I want to start this book. So if you can, the if you want to help in that, the GoFundMe link is on the description box. And also visit our online magazine, asianentertainmentandculture.com, asianentertainmentandculture.com. Your traffic will help us. So if you have any suggestions or if you want to contribute, we will welcome that. The goal is to push and promote and help promote the growth and the appreciation and understanding of Asian culture, Asian art, and Asian artists. And I do more content on TikTok, on IG, on um, YouTube Shorts and also on X. So please follow me there as well. And they're also shorter, so that might be good for you. That is it. If you are a member of my Patreon or YouTube member, I do a live stream just for members once a week that does not go public. I also provide exclusive content, but I'll also be doing regular live streams just covering more general topics. And that is it. Thank you so much. Please like the video, subscribe, of course, and of course, click that notification button so that you don't miss a single video that we upload. But the more important thing is for you to share the video so that the algorithm recommends us to more people so that we can grow faster and we can do more projects. Thank you so much. Till next time.